What's up, guys? Jordan from Bennett's Customs. Today on another episode. It's Friday. Usually Friday consists of like a half a day of work and then, you know, kind of follows into a few beers. So we thought it was appropriate to bring this into the mix. What this is a probably late 50s Crosley Shelvador, which is kind of their larger fridge, which is good for us. I got it from a mate of mine. It's been sitting in his storage unit for ages and we want to bring a bit of life back to it. So the whole plan with this is we're going to strip the paint off of it, make a really cool Art Deco style handle out of a bit of brass and maybe some alley or some copper, and polish up all the old labels, get the old handle back on there. Inside, I can open it, is actually not too bad. So, you know, a lot of room for some beverages, you know, baker's dozen eggs, just in case we want to have a few raw eggs with our Coronas. But yeah, it's a pretty neat piece and we want to bring it back to life. It actually runs really well. So, you know, it kind of just would fit the workshop to have an old retro fridge full of cold beer for our guests and friends that come around. So we're going to get started with getting a bunch of aircraft paint stripper on this. Going to pull off a few seals and that beforehand, and then get stuck into trying removing this old paint and come up with a few cool paint schemes. Let's go. A little bit of cam strip, automotive paint stripper. This stuff is deadly. It works so well. Basically just blisters the paint off and we'll be able to scrape it off with a scraper. Just saves a lot of time trying to use the sander and that. And yeah, so we'll get the first application on and we're gonna wrap it in a bit of plastic afterwards. It just kind of lets this bond a little bit more without having kind of oxygen dried out, so it keeps it kind of wet and really digs deep into the many layers of paint that's probably on this thing. So we'll get started. So we got the plastic on. Basically, we're gonna let this sit for around 15-20 minutes. And it just kind of like, yeah, holds it in there and, you know, all the gases and everything mix and, so we've finally got the majority of this fridge sanded. So what we did was we had 80 grit on the soft pad on the orbital and just went over the lot to just get those last little bits of paint that were still on there. So we're gonna remove the door and everything else, get it basically prepped. There's a few little dings I just need to add a little bit of filler to before we put it into epoxy and get it into high build. But yeah, we're kind of nearly at that point where we're going to start to get some ideas for giving this thing a paint job. One cool thing was we actually discovered that
the original hinges were actually made out of brass, which was quite cool. So I'll give these things a full polish and a once over and get those fitted back on. And you know, with that kind of idea of making that really neat Art Deco wing out of the brass, it, you know, kind of will all tie it in together. So yeah, so just about to get it in, and yeah, follow us into the booth. We just got these both pulled out of the booth. Yesterday we just put a epoxy primer and 2 coats of high build down onto them, and just applied the guide coat for sanding. All right, so we're in the booth. Today is painting day. This is where the fun happens. Usually, you know, it feels like 99.9% prep work. We've just got them in the booth. They've now been fully blocked. A few spot primes on a few areas where the metal has come through, and I'll just go over those with 1200, and we'll give this a full wipe down, tack rag, and get it into some color. With the color, there was a lot of sitting around looking at color chips, and we kind of found, you can't really see it probably on there, but there is still a fair bit of pearl. But what it is it's actually like an early 60s Thunderbird color, which is really cool. So we're going to lay this all down, a few coats, get it covered, and then we're going to add a bit of pearl. But what we are going to try and do with panels and base coat, when you're spraying metallic or pearl, you really want to make sure that they're together somehow. And what I mean by that is, if I spray the bottom of this fridge door with a pearl and then come over here and spray this with a pearl on the fridge door, they have the same coverage, but they might not line up properly. So you might see like a little bit of a different haze to each one. And as well as we got some lace. So we're literally just going to experiment. So we're fully freestyle on this, and we're just going to try and come up with something really cool. So we finally got the fridge out of the booth. We baked it, let it cure for 24 hours, pulled it out. We've assembled it, put the hinges on. It looks amazing. We won't quite show you exactly what it looks like yet, but until then, we have to make a handle. Like I said before, unfortunately, this fridge didn't come with one when we first got it. So that is what we are up to right now. What the plan is I'm making one out of alley, so it's just easy to polish. And what I've done is made a base plate, which will be fixed to the side of the door like this. And we have a hinge system that I've just kind of made out of a bit of, I think it's 15 or 20 mil round tubing that fits a 5/16 bolt. And what I'm going to do is actually use this flat bar, and I'm going to cut out a really cool, maybe looking kind of Art Deco wing that will actually be the handle to opening the fridge. So we're going to get started on that now and try and get this wrapped up and make it operational. All right, so we've got the handle mounted and we're just working on the latching setup at the moment, but we just have to get the majority of the door finished off, get the seal put on to see how long we need to make the probe that actually opens the fridge itself off the latch. What we're going to do in here is just put a little bit of insulation in here, and we were going to just pop the old door panel back in. The plastic one that has a few shelves for your eggs and stuff. I was going to paint it and make it look really nice, and just kind of what we've done with this fridge, I kind of wanted to try and do something a little bit different. So what we've come up with is I've actually traced this out onto a bit of 1.2 mil alley, and it's got the sticker on it so we can pull it off. It is brushed. It would be really neat to have it, you know, full shiny, but this will do. I've just worked out a few different experiments with a couple different lines to see exactly how I wanted to get the diamond print with utilizing the bead roller. So what we're going to do is just shoot off to a mate's place. Unfortunately, the throat of my bead roller won't actually fit this, so we're going to run down to his place and run a few things in it and then get this mounted on the door. Could you not have a beer out of this thing? It's absolutely gorgeous. Oh, hello, Christmas. Sensational. Oh, that is a wrap on this episode of Bennett's Customs. Make sure you stay tuned, like and subscribe. Another video dropping next week. It is Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone out there. Cheers.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.